Hey guys, Constance here. Welcome back to A Good Life Farm. So I'm going to attempt to get this garden tour filmed. We've got storms rolling in again. This week I've been a little bit behind on things. I've gotten almost nothing done in the gardens. I have harvested some, and I did mow and weed eat the other day, and that's about it. We have been dodging excessive, wretched, horrible heat, like fry ya on a sidewalk heat. Heat indexes over triple digits, and temperatures and humidity to go along with it. And then I had, if you saw my Friday video, I had a little kerfuffle with an unplugged microphone, which, let me double check this microphone. Yes, we're plugged in. And I had several videos that I had filmed this week, and none of them had audio. Yes, so we're going to try again here to film this week's garden tour. Now, I usually try to film these on Thursdays, or at the very latest, Friday morning. However, it's now Friday evening, which means this video will probably not get posted until Sunday. But before we head into the crunchy garden, I wanted to show you something out here that I thought was pretty wild, and I've never seen this before. I mean, I'm sure it's happened before, it's just I've not seen it before. I have purple coneflowers out here, echinacea, in the front garden, well, in the flower bed, and it's been here for years. It comes back every year, but this year one portion of one of the plants is doing something unusual. So first of all, the flowers themselves never really got that kind of purpley fuchsia color like they usually do. They kind of stayed green, and if you look at the middle, you notice something? Look at the ones over here. They're growing. I have never in my life seen coneflowers actually shoot off new plants, and I have several of them that are doing this. That kind of blows me away. Got another one down there. Check that out. At least, you know, I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. So I mean, those have to be new plants, because I don't know what else they would be doing. So as I was saying, the garden is crunchy. I have some chicory right here that is pretty much dead, and I had wanted to do a lot of things this week that just didn't get done because of the weather and everything else. One of them was I wanted to pull out this chicory. Well, not pull it out per se, but chop down the plants, leave the root system in there, and it would come back again next year. So it didn't happen. Maybe it'll happen this week. I don't know. I've still got lots and lots of tomatoes. Still trying to produce. Got lots of tomatoes ripening on the vine. The vines have gone above and beyond the trellis. I'm actually trying to lean them across the top and tie them so that they have some support. But most of these plants are now a good 2 feet taller than the trellis. I'm just trying to do what I can to keep them supported. Like I said, we've got lots of tomatoes ripening on the vine. The varieties that I have out here, the Dr. Weish, Black Vernissage, Berkeley Pink Tie-Dye, and Blue Beauties. Now over here in the corner, this dahlia had come up this year. Well, I planted the bulb back early in the spring, and it just came up, just started flowering, and one of the storms that we had this week actually broke half of the plant, and it was all laid over, just crushing my cardinal basil down here. And I had hoped that if I stood it up and supported it, that it would be okay, but it clearly actually broke down below the soil, so I will be pulling this chunk out this week. Flowers over here on the far side of the bed, closest to the house, are doing beautiful. The sweet Thai basil I actually harvested a ton of this week, but as you can see, it's still kind of taken off. It's still growing, but at this point, because I've harvested so much of it, I'm really just letting it go to flower for the bees. If I wanted to harvest more of it, I would be pushing or snapping off all of these flower heads like this, but like I said, I harvested a bunch, so I'm just going to let it do its thing. And you can see where it's actually kind of yellowing a little bit. You guys, it has been so hot. You'll see as we walk through here why I'm calling it the crunchy garden. But one thing that is doing really well, and I'm anxious about, is these. Look at that. Can you see that in there? These are my Israeli melons. You can see I brought nets out here to support them. Look at how big this one is. Now, I don't know how big they get when they're fully grown, but I did some reading up on these, and it is very, very important to give these support unless you're growing them on the ground, because when they are ripe, they will actually release from the vine. So you definitely want to have something to catch them when they come loose. But I have got all sorts of these all over in here, so I really hope that I can eat them. And there's more babies, little baby melons all over the place. I've mentioned before how over the years I have developed, I never had any kind of allergies when I was a kid, but over the years I've developed some allergies as well as some really severe food sensitivities, and melons are one of those things. Some varieties I can eat, some I can't. The Kajari melons I can eat. I was able to enjoy those last year. That's why I'm growing those again this year. You know, I grew up eating cantaloupe and muskmelon, and I can't eat them. The initial trigger, or the initial thing that happens, is they burn my mouth, my gums, my tongue, you know, everything just burns like acid, and it just goes downhill from there. So the Israeli melon, they are in the cantaloupe family, but so are the Kajari melons. So I'm hoping that I can eat the Israeli melon. We'll have to wait and see. Watermelon I'm good with. I can eat watermelon. I have no problem with that. But some kinds of melon I can't. Honeydew I can't, which is sad too. Alright, so over here on this trellis, I haven't really talked about this one. This kind of started coming along a little bit later on. I planted the seeds for this when I planted everything else out here in the garden. But these are a variety of bean that I have never grown before. It's another one of my garden experiments this year. But these are winged beans, and they are if I remember correctly, it's been a long time since I planted. It's been weeks since I planted them, so I'm a little rusty on the information. But I believe they are a Japanese type of green bean, and they have a funny shape, and they also have a different name, which I will put right here. But just this week I started seeing blossoms, which you can see right there. So we've got lots of buds and blossoms happening, so I'm looking forward to giving these a try. So one of the things that I did do this week is, and it really broke my heart to do it, I pulled a lot, well, over half of my cosmos out of this bed right here. They had gotten so big, they were just completely swallowing up all of my pepper plants. And two of them were just really big. They had really big root systems, and I actually transplanted them in the other garden, and so hopefully they'll be able to recover. I mean, it's going to be a traumatic move, so I don't know if they will, but I really hope that they do. Right in here you can see a purple pepper. That is a lilac bell pepper. Kind of little, but it's in there. I've tried to grow these in the past, didn't have much success with them, so we'll see what comes of them this year. So I'm absolutely loving this variety of cosmos. I mean, look at these beautiful striped petals. Those are just stunning. I planted these last year for the first time and was just smitten with the color, and so I think every year this will probably be a variety that I include in the garden. Alright, it is getting really dark. That storm system is en route, so hopefully we can get a little bit more of this filmed. But y'all, look at this. I'm kind of overwhelmed with how quickly these snake beans grow, these Chinese python beans. Holy moly is all I can say. So I learned after I shared the other day about these things that you're actually supposed to pick and eat these when they're about 24 inches long. Yeah. So this trellis is about 7.5 feet tall, and I've got beans. Look at this. I mean, look at this one. Look at that. Does that not look like a snake coiled up here and climbing up the trellis? Craziness. Craziness. So there are still new beans producing. So this week I've got to look up a recipe and figure out how to actually cook these things because goodness gracious, that is something else. So I have a feeling this week's garden tour may be getting cut short. Getting darker. I'm hearing thunder. And so check out the loofah gourd vine. I've got sunflowers that have opened up, my Mongolian giants. Oh, I love those. Oh, and I gotta show you this other sunflower right over here. It is so pretty. Right there. I have a better video clip that I'll plug in right here. But these sunflowers in this bed are autumn sunset, and they come in a variety of orange tinged yellow to the very deep, deep red like that. And I was going over my chart, my map per se, of the garden, where I draw out the garden beds and then I write down everything that I'm planting. And this bed right here, all three of the sunflowers that are in there were volunteers, because I looked at what I had planted, but these sunflowers were all yellow. I did not plant any yellow sunflowers in this garden bed, so they were all volunteers. Most likely all just lemon queens. So let me head on out here real quick to the in-ground garden. Oh, that thunder's getting close. Alright, so here we have more crunchy garden. There are several plants that are going to be getting pulled out this week because they are just doing terrible. And frankly, this is what the garden often looks like when we are heading into August. You know, my plants start getting blight, they start getting crunchy, they're still producing, and so I can still get some harvest off of them, but it does start dwindling. But look at that cluster right down there. The plant looks terrible, but the tomatoes are looking great. And those are those Bella Rosa tomatoes. So I'm kind of liking those. So those are actually going to be getting harvested in the next day or two. The bean trellis that I left intact, you can see these gigantic beans. So at this point, I'll just let those dry, and I will use these to harvest seeds for next year's garden. And there will be plenty of them. Now I do occasionally find a handful of good beans on there, but again, it's not enough for me to really do anything with, and so the doggies get treats because they go insane for green beans. Speaking of beans, so as you can see, my second planting is coming up. We have bean plants all over the place on both sides. They are getting a little bit of some pest pressure because it is that time of year. So I've got to treat these with some of my garden spray. I've been actually waiting for this evening to do that. Hopefully I can spray them and not have it all get washed away from another storm. And then over on this trellis, you can see the Kajari melon vine is just kind of taking off. And I do have Kajari melons. Look at that. So I actually need to come out here and support this one. There, and that one down there. Like I did the Israeli melons out there, so they don't put too much stress on the vine and break it. So I'll do that here in just a second. And then over on this side, we have got Chinese noodle beans. And this one's actually already almost too big to eat. They grow so fast once they start coming in. They'll just be all over the place. Chinese noodle beans grow so quick. I mean, you'll have one here that's like, you know, almost the size of a normal, you know, green bean, and within a day or two it's picking size, and then it's too big. It just happens so quickly. A lot of people ask how to cook Chinese noodle beans. They are not like a regular green bean. You don't want to cook them the same way. I do have a recipe on my website, cosmopolitancornbread.com. I will put a link to the Chinese noodle bean recipe that I do down below so that you can find that. While these are called Chinese noodle beans, they're not like a regular green bean. They're different. They're a thin-skinned type of bean, and you actually eat them pretty early on. If you let them go too long and then they get that really big, you know, seed bean on the inside, you can shell them and cook them like pinto beans, but generally you want to pick them while they're young and tender. A lot of things will change in the next week as far as this garden goes. There will be certain things coming out, and possibly some new things getting planted in for the fall garden already. We'll just have to kind of see how it goes and play it by ear. Oh, and check out that gargantuan Mongolian giant sunflower. Look at that. That is the one that I showed you guys how tall it was in, I think it was my last garden tour. And it has opened up, and I think officially we could say that that is a good 12 feet tall. Monstrous. That's why I love those things. Alright, so this is going to end up having to be a rather short garden tour. I'm actually feeling some raindrops, and like I mentioned, I need to get some support on these Kajari melons real quick before it hits. So if you want to see all of the tours that I have done through this garden season, I will put a link to that playlist down below or up here in a card if you are watching this on YouTube. So that is it for today. I will talk to you all next time.